Okay, so in the Talmud, Chagiga 12b, number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like the pieces of them, Reish Lakish says there's 7 heavens. And he uses scriptural references from the prophets, from the 5 books that Moses transmitted, from the writings from the writings. So the first one is called Vilon, that's called curtain, contains nothing but enters at morning, departs at evening, and renews the act of creation daily. He uses this word, he gets a reference from Yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 22. In bereishis, Genesis 1:17, the word rakia is used, firmament, in which are fixed the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the zodiac signs. Then we have shchakim, heights, in which mills stand and grind the manna. That's from tehillim. It grinds the manna for the righteous. This is tehillim, chapter 78, verse 23 and 24, the Psalms. Again from yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 15, it says, Zivul. This is the location of the heavenly Jerusalem and the heavenly temple and the heavenly altar, where the angel Michael, the great minister, stands and sacrifices upon it. I think that's also from Kings 1. Let's see. Melachim, which is Kings 1, chapter 8, verse 13. Ma'on, which is habitation, is where the groups of ministering angels who recite song at night and are silent during the day out of respect for Israel to not compete with their songs. That's from devarim, Deuteronomy 26:15. Then we have Machon, which is dwelling place. Kings 1, Melachim 1, chapter 8, verse 39, is where the storehouses of snow and the storehouses of hail and the upper chambers of harmful dews and the upper chamber of drops and the rooms of the tempests and the storms and the cave of mists, and the doors of all these are made of fire. Then we have last Aravot, skies, which is the firmament that contains righteousness, justice, and charity, the treasuries of peace, the treasuries of blessing, the souls of the righteous, the spirit of souls that are to be created, and the dew that the Holy One, blessed be, will use to revive the dead. There in the firmament are the Ophanim, which is the type of angels that is usually translated in English as cycles or wheels. Then Seraphim, which is often translated in English as the burning ones, the consumed ones. Then we have holy divine creatures, which are called chayot, like holy animals, and the ministering angels, and angels we call them melachim, and the throne of glory, which is the kisei hakavod, and the King God, the living, lofty, exalted one, dwells above them all. And this reference in our vote, this reference is from Tehillim, Psalm 68, number 5. You might hear some background singing. It's not a human, it's from a video monitor. I want to share something. I mentioned in the last video that I used the Rambam, maimonides, sefer hamitzvos, and I learned from it every day, actually. It's divided into the 365 days of the year. Sometimes there's repeats. So it's basically, he uses 14 principles to enumerate the mitzvos. This is in the introduction to the sefer hamitzvos, the book of the mitzvos commandments, whether they're divided as the 365 prohibitions or the 248 like to-dos, like thou shalt, like 365 do nots, 248 do's, like commandments, like decree, like you must do it. So one, he doesn't count rabbinic commandments in this list. Things like lighting the Hanukkah candles, singing the Hallel, the praises. Two, he doesn't include laws that are derived from the 13 principles of Torah, the exegesis. This is, for example, honoring a parent-in-law, because the extra word es is there, the 13 principles of the Torah. So it says, because there's this word es, which means it says you also have to honor your parent-in-law. He doesn't include that as a like, for example, it's like you have to honor your parent, but it doesn't say your parent-in-law. But then they use it as a mitzvah. They say you have to, based on the extraction from the Torah, like words and how it's written. Number 3, he does not count the mitzvos that are not binding on all generations. For example, the laws of the disassembly of the ark, or the prohibition of waging war on Ammon and Moab while in the desert, because this doesn't apply for everyone always. It only applied to the generation in the desert, and it only applied to the people that had to disassemble the ark. Number 5 does not include encompassing directives. Excuse me, like when it says in Shemos, Exodus 12:5, keep my covenant, or 23:23, be a holy people to me. These are like so broad that it's not considered a specific mitzvah. It's just an in general mitzvah, like a life encompassing mitzvah. Then we have number 6. A mitzvah with a positive and a negative is counted as 2. For example, you have to afflict yourself on Yom Kippur, and also you have to and fast. And then on Shabbos it says rest and don't work. So it's like do this, don't do that. So don't eat food, but you should afflict yourself. Like don't work and rest, like on Shabbos. Then number 7, the different applications of a mitzvah are not individually counted. For example, all the options of a sin offering in Leviticus, vayikra 5, you don't count each one separately. Number 8, don't count a negative statement among the prohibitions. For example, in Exodus Shemos 21:7, it says, she shall not go free as the slaves go free. Shall not does not equal do not. You have to discern by the context. So a negative statement is not saying don't do. It says it just is a fact. She won't be going free. I don't know to remember exactly the story of that context. Number 9, don't count the number of times a commandment is mentioned in the Torah, only the act which is prohibited commanded. So it might say 7 times not to eat blood, but it's not 7 separate mitzvahs. It's just one mitzvah to not eat blood. And you know that Jewish people do not eat blood. We actually extract the blood through salt. It's important. That's why you have something called kosher salt, because it removes the blood. 10, don't count the preparatory act as an independent mitzvah. In other words, it's included in the mitzvah. For example, vayikra, Leviticus 24:5. Taking the oil is included in the mitzvah of the menorah. The menorah in the temple, you light the menorah, but when you take the oil for it, it's part of the same mitzvah. It's not separate. Number 11, if a mitzvah is comprised of a number of elements, we don't count them separately. For example, one mitzvah in vayikra, Leviticus 23:40, has the lulav, the palm frond, the myrtle, which is hadas, the esrog, which is like a citron, and the willow, which is the aravos, and all of them are taken together, the 4 minim. It's one mitzvah, even though it has elements. 12, when commanded to do a certain action, we don't count each part of separately. For example, when it says conduct the sanctuary, we don't. It includes the ark, the menorah, the altar, like from Shemos 25:8. Number 13, we don't count the amount of days and mitzvahs performed. So like, even though we have one mitzvah to celebrate the new moon, Rosh Chodesh, which is going to be the next topic in a minute, it's all one mitzvah, even though there's 12 times in the year that we have 12 new months, and actually in a leap year there's 13. And last but not least, 14, we don't count the punishment administered for each transgression. Like somebody did it like 3 times, we're not saying it's three separate ones. We're saying they've been transgressing, and it does depend on the context. But he's saying, and for as a principle, he doesn't count a mitzvah as a separate mitzvah because the person transgressed it more than once. It's still one mitzvah that was transgressed more than once. So I want to talk about in the stone edition of a chumash, which is the 5 books of Moses, the rabbinic commentary. It's the artscroll book by Rabbi Nosson, Sherman, written on the Haftorah for Shabbos, Erev Rosh Chodesh. Let's say what that is. So Rabbi Nosson Sherman says it's artscroll book, the stone edition, chumash, rabbinic commentary. So this is the Haftorah, which means an accompaniment. It's like added each week. We have a portion of the Torah for the 52 weeks of the year, except when there's an additional month, and also not every week is exactly the same amount of days. I'm just saying 52 weeks, but actually I should take that back. The number of weeks per year, the Torah is divided for all the weeks of the Jewish calendar, the lunar solar mix of a calendar. And so Shabbos Erev Rosh Chodesh is the Shabbos the day before. Erev means like the eve of, the day before of the Erev Rosh Chodesh, the head of the month. And so the Haftorah is actually Samuel 1, Shmuel 1, chapter 20, verse 18 to 42, because there's 2 Shmuels, right? And earlier I said kings, there's 2 kings, so 2 melachim. So the new moon alludes to the history of Israel and the Davidic dynasty. The moon grows to fullness over a period of 15 days, and then declines for the next 15 until it disappears. So too, there were 15 generations from Abraham to Solomon, from Abraham to Shlomo Melech. While the Jewish people grew spiritually and physically then, they began to decline until 15 generations later, the monarchy came to an end with the destruction of the temple and the Babylonian exile. But the heavens do not remain dark, the moon reappears. So too, there will be a time of redemption, and the Davidic family will return again. This is why the Kiddush Levana, the sanctifying of the moon, includes the verse, David, king of Israel, is alive and enduring. And I will share one more piece here, few more things. So the Chazon ish in yoreh deah 182:19 on chapter 30 verse 13 in chapter 30 and on chapter 30 verse 13 of the shemos Exodus in the which is actually in the portion of parsha of Kisis. I said each week we have a portion. So Kisis, so the words machatzis shekel, half a shekel of pure silver. So it says that's 0.51 troy ounces. It's 16 grams of pure silver. This follows the halachically accepted view of Rambam, which is Maimonides, and the Gaonim, a great generation of people in the time of the writing of the Talmud and so on. But according to Rashi and Ramban, these are other sages, the shekel is actually 13.33 grams, which is 0.43 troy ounces. The verse that says a full shekel is 21 gerahs, but at the time of the Second Temple, the silver content of the shekel became 24 gerahs. So that's what they have different comments. So, basically I'm sharing here about how when we learn, teachings, they have difference of opinion. I wanted to say that because when we learn about Rambam having the 14 principles for his introduction to sefer hamitzvos, it's important to recognize that not every single rabbi or sage agrees on the number of mitzvos and what exactly are the mitzvos. So just putting that out there. I want to wish us all a holy shabbos where we feel the seven heavens all together, that we are tolerant of all different interpretations, that we increase in our pity and our care and our love and our respect for everyone, including ourselves, and that we don't look at things, we tell positive stories to ourselves, and we don't look at things as punishments. We see them as possibly even good things in a way that if we stretch our mind, so that we have mental strength and clarity, and that we find common ground with everyone in our life that we meet in some way, where we recognize that the moon is still there even when we can't see it. So even when we can't see their goodness, it's there, and that we follow the Torah. That we really do, and each one has a personal redemption and helps together with a collective redemption. And may we eat pure, healthy, good food. May everything that is negative be transmuted outside of our lives, not just transmuted outside of our lives, transmuted through our lives, so we could shake it off and improve. And when we say transmuted, when I say out of our lives, I mean it's like that there isn't even waste. Everything is recycled in such a beautiful way. And trusting the process, trusting each one is showing up as the puzzle piece that they are supposed to. Amen. And wishing everybody a good Shabbos. Bye.